A very good evening, everyone, once again. Back to the online class of today's session. And today I'm going to discuss about how to write notes. Okay. Now, the first thing that comes to your mind when I say notes would obviously be something, the notes which students take notes in the classroom. Sometimes a lecturer or a professor is giving a lecture on a specific topic and you feel it's very important to take notes. So at times in the classroom you take notes, and then when you're studying for the final examination you refer many textbooks and then you make notes. Okay, taking down notes in the classroom, making notes in the classroom. So I'm very sure you all are thinking about that, but I'm not talking about those notes. Okay, I'm not at all talking about the notes that you people take in the classroom and you people make notes at home for your preparation for the examination. Obviously, I'm not at all talking about those notes. Okay, then what is it that I'm talking about? Okay, I'm going to show you all a picture and then you all will get to know what I'm talking about. Now look at this. Look at this picture. I'm very sure you all have seen this. Okay, so what is this called as? Basically, it is, some people call it as a sticky note, and the actual name for it is called as post-it note. Okay, kind of sticky notes. Why is it called as a sticky note or a post-it note? Is because it's a small piece of paper with a re-adherable strip or glue on its back, which is made for temporarily attaching notes to documents and other surfaces. It's something like, you don't have to attach, you have to stick it once for all and then you cannot remove it. No, it's something like you can reattach. It has some kind of a adhesive that allows the notes to be easily, kind of attached and removed and replaced it whenever you require it. So I'm going to talk about how to write notes on these type of sticky notes. Now, where is it useful and how is it going to be helpful in the future? Okay. So now I'm going to discuss about that. What is it?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Nothing is showing on the screen, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, sorry, sorry. I forgot to share, I suppose. Just a second. Yeah. You can mute yourself, Dakshana. Yeah. Okay. Now I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Your screen is now visible.
Okay. Okay. So as I said, I'm not talking about the notes that you people take down in the classroom or whenever you're attending a seminar or a workshop or a regular classroom, and nor am I talking about the notes that you make at home whenever you're studying for your examination. But rather, I'm talking about this particular sticky note. It's called as a sticky note, or sometimes it is also called as post-it note. As I said, it's a piece of a paper which are colorful, usually comes in yellow color, or some kind of green, or some wherein you can write. Usually it is yellow color, what I have seen. So as I said, it has some kind of adhesive which can be used to, it has an adhesive at the back of the paper, and it can be used to stick, and it can be used to attach with some other documents, and it can be reposted without leaving any kind of residue. Okay, so I'm going to talk about writing notes on these type of sticky notes. This is what I'm going to discuss today. Now you might be wondering why am I teaching this. Okay, this is also a part of business communication. Okay, now as I said, written communication in an organization usually happens with email. I have given a detailed description about email etiquettes, how to write emails, what are the etiquettes to be followed, what are the do's and the don'ts, everything, right? And the purpose of writing email. And similarly, I've discussed about memos yesterday. Memos are also very widely used in organizations. Similarly, notes are also used very widely in an organization. And when I say notes, I'm not talking about taking notes, making notes. I'm talking about writing notes on these type of sticky notes. Okay, now when do we use these type of notes? So let's take an example or a situation. Okay, assume that you want to submit some reports to your manager and he's not there on his desk. Okay, so what you could do is, now every day, very often, you're trying to submit some or the other documents to him. How would he know? Now he's not there, you want to keep it on his desk. So instead of keeping it on his desk, you can take the sticky note, write a note to your manager and tell him what report are you submitting, or along with that report you can just stick this note and mention what that particular note is, what that particular report is all about. This is one scenario. Let's take another scenario. Okay, let's say you're working in a software company, you're sitting on the desk and doing your work, and one of your colleague happens to be on leave that day, and suddenly there is some important message from some customer or from some client who has called him or her, and in his absence you take down the message. So maybe in the next day the person may come, maybe you will be very busy. So what you can do is you can note down the message by that customer or the client in his absence, in his or her absence, and then write a note to that person, and you can stick that note on his desk so that when he comes back he will get to read it. So this type of communication happens very widely in organizations. Okay, so what is this note all about? Okay, so notes are brief informal messages usually written to people in the same organization. Just like I said, memos are, kind of formal messages used in an organization. It's used for internal communication. Similarly, notes are also used for internal communication, definitely, but they are not very formal. They are informal messages. You don't have to follow strict rules and regulations of grammar, punctuation, and all those grammatical components, syntax and semantics of English language need not be very thoroughly followed. Okay, so those are informal messages usually written to people in the same organization. But then you can't expect to write an essay or a very detailed description. If you want to do that, you write memo or you write an email or you contact that person directly. So I have given you situations wherein in the absence of the person whom you want to immediately communicate, he or she is not there, write a brief note on the sticky note and stick it on his desk and leave it. So it's a kind of a informal message written to people in the same organization. So what is the nature of writing notes? As I said, you need not have to stick to the strict semantics and the grammar and the punctuation part of English language. You can, to a certain, that doesn't mean you can just write anything, hey, hello, or you can use abusive language or swear language or shout at somebody. No, please don't do that. It doesn't mean that you should completely avoid, but okay, to a certain extent, in a hurry burry, you can start to a certain extent miss out certain grammar and certain words like pronouns and articles. Okay, it need not be a very strictly grammatically correct answer. You can just shorten it, or sometimes just use some clauses instead of the complete sentence. Okay, so notes, sometimes we use dashes instead of full stops. I'll give you some examples where you can see that people avoid using full point, because as I said, notes are very small it's just a small piece of paper, and sometimes the word doesn't fit at the end, so you have to put a dash at the end to continue the word in the next line. So often dashes are used instead of full stops. Okay, and you can use abbreviations as much as possible as long as the person understands it. Okay, please don't use abbreviations if you feel that the person who's going to read out doesn't understand what it is. So based on the knowledge about the people whom you're communicating, and the way they are aware, how much they are aware about the abbreviations, you need to write it. Even when, see, even in GIT also there are certain abbreviations we use in email, but provided that there are certain abbreviations which we all know, which we are aware about. But as I said, whatever rules and regulations I have told you, try to stick to it as much as possible, unless and until you join an organization and get well adapted to there and know their way of work style and their way of communication. Sometimes when you work in an organization, there may be certain things which are acceptable, like in GIT we say PFA, please find attached, or KFA, or kindly find attached. So FA means find attached. So sometimes for internal communication we use that. So as long as the person understands that abbreviation, use it, otherwise I try to avoid it. Okay, so notes are written in informal style. You don't have to be very formal, dear Mr. Last name, and then yours sincerely. Those all things can be avoided. You need not have to be too formal at the same time. Don't be too very informal also. Okay, usually you can use an informal style. not necessary that you have to use it very strictly like what you use in an email. Okay, so now that I told you which notes I'm talking about, I'm going to show you all some examples. Please go through this very carefully, you get an idea. Okay, now look at this, look at this text. Just see, hardly a few a very short message. Tim Valles telephoned in sick this morning, injured his leg in a bike accident last night. Please could you inform his line manager. Now look at this sentence. If you actually see grammatically, it is not a complete sentence. Tim Wallace telephoned in sick this morning. That means he was sick when he telephoned. And then you're giving a short reason. Injured his leg in a bike accident last night. PLS. Can you see? PLS. PLS. Please could you inform his line manager. This is an example of a note wherein you're informing somebody. Okay, I mean the person has met with an accident, and you're just writing a note. Please inform his line manager to some person who knows his line manager. Let's take another example. Okay, now look at this. Tim Wallace, instead of telephoned, you can just say phoned. As I said, you don't have to strictly follow the proper vocabulary, or the sentence construction in the proper semantic form and all. So you can just, instead of telephone, you can say Tim Wallace phoned in sick this morning, injured his leg in a bike accident last night. So what is the difference in this? Instead of telephone, I've just replaced the word with phone. Okay. Insect this morning, injured his leg. Rest all sentence. Please, could you let his manager know? Instead of inform, you can say let his manager know, question mark. Now, here you can see in this example, you're just directly sticking it to the person on the desk. Whoever sits on that desk will get it and will inform Tim's manager. Now it's better you write the person to whom you are addressing. Sometimes it's understood, because sometimes some places are such that nobody else would sit other than the person whom you are referring to. So in that case, it is understood that the note is for that person. But suppose there is you might find that there's a possibility that, like, suppose you want to write a note to a receptionist, and assume that there are two receptionists working in that particular company in shift wise. One is working from, say, morning 7 to evening afternoon 3, and another is from 3 to night 12 o'clock, whatever it is. Then in that case, there are two receptionists, and you suppose you want to write a note to a receptionist, specifically one type of receptionist, one particular receptionist. Then in that case, it's better you mention the name. So here it goes. Jackie. Now see, there is no dear and dear Mr. last name, or directly dear Jackie, nothing. Just Jackie, comma. Have borrowed your copy of the database instructions. Hope you don't mind. See, there's no full point, dash. Will put it back as soon as I've finished. So this is a note in the absence of Jackie. You borrowed his database instructions copy, and then you're saying, hope you don't mind. You can say, as I said, sometimes hyphen. The meaning of hyphen means you're pausing. Hope you don't mind. Pause. When you're reading, it's an instruction to the reader to pause. We'll put it back as soon as I've finished. So this is a very short example. Jackie and thank you wins. Now Jackie doesn't know who has borrowed. Okay, sometimes it's necessary to mention who to whom you are writing the note, and from whom it is. So here you can say thank you wins. So another example, same example with a little difference. You can see, Jackie, have borrowed your copy of the database instructions. Hope you don't object. Now look at this. Instead of hope you don't mind, I've just changed the word hope you don't object. We'll put it back as soon as I finish. Cheers wins. What is the meaning of cheers? Are you cheering somebody? I think you might have forgotten. If you want to say thank you to somebody, the informal way to say thank you to somebody is cheers. It doesn't mean you're saying cheers when you're drinking, okay? Generally in a party and all, we all have glasses in our hand, and we, before drinking, that's how the thing goes. Everybody say cheers, and then you drink your whatever you want to drink, okay? That it is not that cheers here. Cheers also means saying thank you. So instead of thank you can say cheers in an informal context. Next example, Rhoda. Now this is, you're writing a note to Rhoda. Look at this. Mr. Kumba emailed me. Says, why you're putting an hyphen? So that you want the reader to stop in between. Email regarding what? Says the order still hasn't arrived. Could you get in contact with warehouse and find out what's happening? So this is a message to Rhoda. Okay, you're telling Mr. Kumba emailed me, says the order still hasn't arrived. Could you get in contact with warehouse and find out what's happening? Thanks. See the way the person has written thanks. This is how we write in WhatsApp, right? THA and KS, we are omitting KS. It's an informal way to say thanks again. Cheers is an informal way to say thanks. THA and X, lose. Okay? Same example, a bit small, slight difference. Mr. Kumba emailed me, says the order still hasn't arrived. Could you call the warehouse and find out? Now, what's the difference here? What's the difference? Could you get in contact? Okay, could you call the warehouse and find out what's going on? Thanks, Luz. So, slight changes in the message. I mean, certain phrases you can be replaced. Then, look at this example now. This is a small task. Read the following extracts from a telephone conversation. Okay. Now, why I've given this example as a question is because generally for the Cambridge test, okay, for the Cambridge Business English Certificate preliminary examination, the students generally are either asked to write an email or a memo. They have two questions for writing paper, either an email and a note, or a memo and email, or business letter and email. There's a combination of all these four. So usually the type of questions that could be asked, okay, in the examination, usually it will be something like this. That's the reason why I have taken this example, so that you'll also in the mentally you'll also be prepared to answer it. Okay. Now look at this extract. Read the following extracts from a telephone conversation. Okay, so assume that somebody, I mean, this is a telephone conversation that you hear. Hello, Rina. It's Paul. Can I speak to Koji, please? Then, well, when he gets back, can you ask him to call me straight away? It's quite urgent. Okay, I need to check some of the figures on this spreadsheet he sent me. Now, this is the notes. Somebody has, and this is the conversation. Okay, somebody is telling Reena, "Hello, Reena, it's Paul. Can I speak to Koji, please?" And since he's not there, so he's leaving a message to Koji. Okay, when he says, "Well, when he gets back, can you ask him to call me straight away?" A very informal way to say straight away. Okay, it's quite urgent. And then I need to check some of the figures on the spreadsheet. Spreadsheet means Excel sheet he sent me. So this is what you note in the absence of Koji. Okay, so Reena has noted this particular conversation. Now the question could be asked like this: write a note to Koji from Reena, okay, about Paul's telephone call. Use a maximum of 15 words. Now assume that you are Reena. You are Reena. Okay, no, Paul has I mean, there was a message to Paul. Okay, it's Paul. Paul has left a message to Koji, which is noted by Reena. So Reena has to write a note to Koji. Okay, and since you're writing it on a sticky note, you can't write a lengthy essay. You must understand the tactics, the rules, regulations, how short it has to be. At the same time, the entire information has to be delivered in the right way. So here's a sample answer. Koji. The message is to Koji. Write Koji. Then there's no need to write dear and all those things. Comma, but make sure you write put a comma. Call Paul urgently. What is it that you need to tell? Call Paul urgently. Hyphen. He needs clarifications regarding the figures on the spreadsheet which you sent. Very simple. Why he wants to call you urgently? Because he needs some clarifications regarding the figures on the spreadsheet which you sent. Regards, Reena. Okay, if you want, you can say regards or thanks or cheers. It's left to you. Koji, another example. Now look at this example. Call Paul ASAP. What is ASAP? As soon as possible. Instead of urgently, the answer has call Paul ASAP. He wants to check the figures. Okay. What's the difference? He needs clarifications regarding the figures. And here, the sentences, he wants to check the figures in the spreadsheet you sent him. Thanks, Reena. Okay, so this is all about how to write, how to go ahead with writing notes. Okay, so emails, memos and notes are the most commonly means of written communication in an organization which you are supposed to be well versed with, and that comes by practice. And I hope you have understood the concept of writing notes. Nothing else other than this is required to talk about notes. Okay, I hope you have followed this session. If there's anything that you want to ask or any clarifications or comments, I'm open for discussion. I hope you followed. Have you followed? Say
Yes.
something.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Satvik,
Yes, ma'am.
Dhanush,
Yes, ma'am.
Dhanush,
Yes, ma'am.
what happened? Priyanka?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. There are many Priyankas here. No, there was Priya, Priyanka, one more Priyanka was there. I guess she left. No. All right. So I actually have finished your syllabus now. But then, as I said, I would like to take a class on how to write resumes also, which is very, very important. The next class, which I may need two classes, or I'll just see how, because anyways on Google Meet there is no restriction for the time to take the class. So next class would be on writing resumes, very, very important. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.